5. Tomb Robber. These green orcs are so powerful. The screams of murlocs came from outside the camp. Obviously, they were slaughtered by the orcs unilaterally, and Black was squatting there, quickly scavenging the injured orcs who were stabbed into the brain by the daggers. Still thinking. The orc is so old just now, but his strength is at least twice as strong as mine. This is still the elite template of Prince Drake, and he doesn't have the upper hand. If it wasn't for a sneak attack. Just when he grabbed my neck just now, he probably could have severed my spine. As the warrior class is dying out, there is no chance of winning against them head-on, but if you use sneak attack to assassinate, it will not be difficult. Hey, this is... He quickly found a bottle in the beastman's animal skin pocket under his feet, opened the stopper, and saw a black liquid inside. Loss of smell in undead form. But just by looking at the appearance of this thing, you can see that it is not a good thing. The Blood Ring clan is good at hunting gorillas, so this should be poison. Blake blinked, quickly dipped a rag with venom, and evenly spread it on his dagger. He glanced outside the camp. The 4 strong and furious orcs slaughtered the murlocs lured by Black within a few minutes. The best thing is that these guys on top of the rage, under the control of killing intent, dispersed to chase the fleeing murlocs. It is estimated that they will end the battle within a few minutes. Then, with the killing intent satisfied in his heart, he returned to the camp to rest. This is an excellent opportunity. Blake Shaw withdrew from the camp, hid in the shadows again, and crept back to the edge of the border between the hills and the swamp. He stared at the thinnest of the 4 orcs. The large force of the Blood Ring orcs should be recruited to the battlefield of Earthy to fight with the human Highland Knights of Stromgarde. Those who stayed behind were all wandering soldiers. They defended the Solder Bridge, the retreat of the Blood Ring orcs, and they also had the Dragonmaw orcs stationed in grim battle in the center of the wetlands as backup. The mighty red dragon Queen Alexstrasza, the Lifebinder captured by the evil artifact, should also be imprisoned in that abandoned Wildhammer dwarf city hundreds of years ago. These orcs have almost no opponents in the wetlands, no wonder their troops are so scattered, and there are only so many people in such a large camp. Blake's eyes rolled, and an idea came to his mind. I killed 2 orcs just now, and I gained more experience than killing 30 murlocs. Obviously, the level of the orcs is much higher than that of the murlocs. Although there is no such magical thing as level in reality, more experience can only mean that orcs are more dangerous than murlocs. Now the collapse of the warrior class is estimated to be inevitable. If you don't want to let yourself continue to fall into weakness, then before breaking through the dangerous Saldo Bridge, it is the top priority to raise the thief class who is not affected by the shadow curse as soon as possible. In other words, hurry up, fight monsters and upgrade. Is there a better target in this wetland than these scattered Blood Ring orcs? With this kind of thinking in mind, Blake silently prepared to pounce under the cover of the branches and leaves. While waiting for the Blood Ring orc with a hunting stick, dragging the murloc corpse with a contented face, the skinny skeletal assassin jumped down from the tree. It's almost a copy of the attacking and killing the old orcs, but this time Black behaved well. The dagger in his left hand was a false move. First, the orc who was frightened by the sneak attack waved his hunting stick to block, and then the dagger in his right hand stabbed sharply. A heavy thing like a hunting stick needs to be held with both hands. Puff. The sharp murloc dagger pierced the orc's temple accurately and ruthlessly, and when Blake's wrist was flipped, it was like a red-hot nail, stirring his brain into a ball. The scorching power was introduced into the body along the dagger. The experience this time was a little more than the previous killing of orcs, which made Black's eyes bright. Successful assassination, one-shot kill, and additional rewards? Awesome. An hour later, Black dragged his trembling wrist and pulled the dagger out of the eyes of the last Blood Ring orc. A dangerous bloodstain was cut open by the battle axe on his chest. If it wasn't for the undead curse that prevented the blood from draining in large quantities, the axe that the orcs counterattacked just now would probably cause him to be seriously injured again. This failed assassination also made Blake understand a truth. The stillness and concealment effect brought by his primary shadow affinity is not omnipotent. Blood Ring orcs are good at hunting, and their perception is stronger than ordinary orcs. It is very convenient to use assassination to deal with the old, the weak, the sick and the disabled, but to deal with this kind of Blood Ring orcs who are in their prime, if they are not careful, they will find them when they approach. Thanks to the help of the poison smeared on the dagger, he was able to kill the strongest Blood Ring orc in the frontal battle where the sneak attack failed. This fully illustrates 2 truths. First, it is best for assassins not to confront fighters or hunters. Second, poison is really a good thing. After a 2-hour rest, Black moved the bodies of the 6 orcs together, and while searching for them, he threw a piece of jerky, which seemed to be edible, into his mouth. Alas, luck is running out. After searching the bodies of 6 orcs, Black found nothing but several bottles of blood ring poison. With a sigh of relief, he threw the jerky in his hand to the little fishman Benpalba, who was trying to grab the orc battle axe, with the sadness of the African chief. The latter screamed in surprise, grabbed the jerky and bit it. It's a good mood. But Black's mood didn't get better. He spent 2 days killing a lot of murlocs and found a dagger and a short sword. He tried his best to kill 6 blood ring orcs, but he still found nothing. This shows that in the real world of Azeroth, those well-equipped weapons are not as prolific as in the game. It is understandable to think about it. After all, it is designed for playability and gameplay. How can there be so many good blacksmiths in this world who can make excellent weapons all over the world? Even the most skilled dwarves can't do. Etc. Blake suddenly thought of something. He raised his head and glanced at the tomb of Ironbeard, which was burned by the orcs. A clear smile appeared on his thin face. When the dwarves buried the dead, they seemed to have the habit of accompanying the dead. No wonder these orcs built a camp here after burning and destroying this tomb. After a long time, these bloodring orcs came to fight. Blake pouted and inwardly despised this group of orc invaders with no bottom line. He stood up, hooked his fingers at Pemberba, who was biting jerky, and said, "Little guy, come with me, let's go to the tomb of Ironbeard and pay homage to the ancestors of the dwarves. To express my respect, I hope those dead souls who have passed away, for the sake of killing the orc invaders who disturbed their peace. Give me something good for the poor traveler." The little murloc croaked twice, and with the murloc's unique walking posture of swaying from side to side, he followed behind Black, bypassed the burned black rocks, and walked into the tomb in front of him. The tombs of dwarves are actually no different from the tombs of humans. However, the dwarves are good at digging pits and carving stones, so their ancestors' tombs are generally larger and more luxurious than those of humans. Blake stepped into the tomb with the torch left by the orcs. Walking down the stairs to the first floor, where you see it is a coffin that was dragged out by the orcs and smashed to pieces on the ground. And there are skeletons scattered all over the place. These guys. Black shook his head, feeling a little disappointed in his heart. It seemed that the orcs had already scoured this place, and it was estimated that nothing good was left. But instead of leaving right away, he took a moment to pile up the scattered skeletons and make a simple tombstone out of the broken coffin. This kind of behavior is meaningless, but Blake has lived in another world for more than 20 years, and he has developed the habit of worshipping his ancestors every year. He didn't like the act of blaspheming the souls of the dead. Although it is meaningless, it can at least calm his mind. He stood up and bowed to the simple tombstone. The little murloc behind him looked at him curiously, followed his example, and bowed forward. Then he walked into the lower, wider tomb, and as soon as he entered, he heard a strange grunting sound. It sounded like some kind of liquid shaking, with a strange roar. At this moment, Black quickly grabbed the little murloc, rolled backwards, and lay there. A cloud of green mucus was like a cannonball, wiping his head and flying out. As he hit the stone wall behind him, white smoke immediately rose from the stone. Poisonous. At this moment, Blake finally knew why the Blood Ring orcs set fire to the Ironbird's tomb. The depths of the cemetery were probably closed for too long, and a new monster was born. He lay there with a sullen face, and the little murloc in his arms was also taken aback, and let out a croaking sound. Blake raised his head, and saw a mass of slime-like things, swaying and swaying, a slimy, translucent, mucus-like huge body staggeringly crawling towards him. The body of that thing is translucent gel green, and it is covered with messy skeletons, as well as a half-digested orc corpse. The dirty blood on the corpse dyed the lower body of the ooze monster dark purple, and the flesh melted into it. There were several swords, several hunting clubs, and a grotesque head with a weathered black dwarf skeleton in it. It should still have a foul smell on it. Not to mention how disgusting it is. This kind of thing is naturally a specialty in the magical world of Azeroth. Even the most knowledgeable mage can't tell you clearly what type of creature the ooze belongs to. Even whether they are biological or not, it remains to be studied. But what is certain is that they have absolutely no intelligence, and will only instinctively devour everything they encounter, whether it is wood, steel, or flesh and blood. Looking at the size of the ooze monster in front of him, it is estimated that it has swallowed at least 4 or 5 orcs. To fight against such a guy, daggers and short swords can be used no matter how sharp they are, but Blake still has one thing in his hand. He grabbed the black magic suitcase from behind his waist, grabbed the key from his wrist, inserted it into the suitcase, and flicked it. The purple-black cursed weapon was thrown at the disgusting ooze monster. It is also to bully the latter for being brainless. The ooze monster made an open mouth action, like the most obedient dog, and swallowed the purple-black cursed evil weapon into its stomach. Then, Blake heard the sound of boiling water, gurgling, and the translucent gel body of the huge ooze monster also seemed to ignite a purple-black fire. Expand, expand. Re-expansion. Damn. Black hugged the little murloc, turned around and ran. The moment he rushed to the first floor of the tomb, the muffled sound of a bomb exploded from behind, followed by the hissing sound of venom corroding stones. He and the little fishmen waited in the tomb on the first floor for 10 minutes before lighting up the torches and entering the lower floor. It's over here. Whether it's the delicate stone carvings or the scattered coffins around, they were all corroded by the explosion of the big ooze monster. The bones in the ooze monster's body, the corroded weapons, and the disgusting corpses were all scattered on the ground. Blake closed his eyes, sent out perception for a moment, and his heart jumped. In this garbage, he felt at least 2 things with magical fluctuations. Doing good deeds really pays off, no matter which world you are in. The rib man grinned, as thin as an undead, and on his face burned by the flames, there was a smile that could scare children to tears. He opened his eyes, quickly put the cursed weapon back into the magic suitcase, and followed his perception to find the 2 magic items. Well, look what I found. A magic bag, what I need most now. Thank you for your gifts, ancestors of the dwarves. I will make good use of what you have given me.